Plato, 427 to 347 BC, is surely the most famous of all philosophers. Little is known of his early life, except that he was born into a noble Athenian family, and at some time in his late teens came under the philosophical spell of Socrates, 469 to 399 BC, about whom valuable information is contained in Plato's Apology, the events leading up to and culminating in the Athenian government's trial and execution of Socrates, when Plato was 28, soured Plato on the idea of embarking on a life in politics, and resulted in his leaving Athens to travel for a number of years in the Mediterranean region. Plato returned to Athens in 387 and founded his school, the Academy, in the belief that such an institution was necessary for the education of political leaders who would be morally excellent. The Academy attracted many of the finest contemporary minds, including Aristotle. Plato twice visited Syracuse in a futile attempt to inculcate his moral and political ideas in Syracuse's young tyrant, Dionysius II. Socrates wrote nothing. It is fortunate that his most illustrious follower did not follow that example. At least 26 of Plato's dialogues have survived, ranging in length from the brief Crito to the voluble Laws, which is longer than the Republic. The dialogues are customarily divided into 3 periods of Plato's literary career: early, middle, and late. The early dialogues, of which the Laches, Euthyphro, Apology, and Crito are examples, are taken to be accurate, if not verbatim, portrayals of Socrates in philosophical action. The middle dialogues, represented here by the Meno, Phaedo, and Republic, display Plato at the height of his literary abilities, seeking to further the projects inspired by Socrates, while at the same time introducing doctrines that are extremely unlikely to have been Socrates' own. The late dialogues are dialogues in name only, quite often technically demanding in nature. They appear to represent Plato's efforts to grapple with the critical issues raised by the doctrines enunciated in the middle dialogues, and most likely raised by others in the Academy. As the Apology makes clear, Socrates professed to be ignorant of all matters philosophical, although not disputing the Delphic oracle's pronouncement that he was the wisest of all men. He concluded that his wisdom, compared to the pretenses of others, lay in knowing the extent of his ignorance, taking his mission to be to show others the magnitude of their ignorance about the most important matters of their lives. Socrates relentlessly grilled his fellow Athenian citizens, using rigorous argumentation to demonstrate that uncritically accepted opinions about philosophically important matters could lead to logical catastrophe. The Laches, Euthyphro, and the early pages of the Meno provide excellent examples of Socrates' technique. Yet for all his professed ignorance, Socrates clung to several distinctive philosophical doctrines. First, one cannot have genuine knowledge about moral matters unless one can give a rationally defensible account of such notions as courage, Locke, piety, Euthyphro, justice, Republic, and virtue or human excellence in general, Meno. Socrates thus pitted himself against the Sophists, a contemporary group of itinerant professional teachers, many of whom fostered the belief in their students that no objective knowledge was to be had in ethics. Socrates believed that moral knowledge is possible, but difficult to acquire, and that his method of exposing ignorance in others was a necessary first step to their acquiring it. Second, as the Meno intimates, in some way or other virtue, or excellence in humans, is knowledge. The Laches, for example, probes the hypothesis that courage is knowledge. That the dialogue's participants do not succeed in identifying what kind of knowledge courage might be illustrates the difficulty in acquiring moral knowledge and the importance of becoming aware of one's ignorance. The remarkable corollary of the claim that virtue is knowledge is,